Coalition for Education, and it's a pleasure for me to have you all joining us today to learn a little bit more about our skills challenge, as we call it in short, the Big Ideas, Bright Cities Challenge. I wanted to give a moment for everyone to join and make sure that everything is working in terms of our presentation. At any moment, if you have any problem hearing or if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat function. As I mentioned, this is an information webinar. We will try to quickly provide an overview of the challenge, give you some information about what are the criteria, what is the deadline and whatnot. But then most of the session we want to dedicate it to a Q&A session. Just so you know, you are all muted automatically as you join, but you might have already noticed that you do have the ability to unmute yourselves or turn on your cameras. You're free to do so. We set it up as a meeting, as we noticed that this will be a smaller group, and we are excited to hear your questions and hopefully provide you with the answers and help you in the application process. We are recording the webinar, so if there is anything that you miss due to connection problems or else, we will be sharing the recording with you once the webinar is completed. And of course, you can always reach out to us with any questions. Before we go into the details of the challenge, we wanted to give you a quick overview of who we are, tell you a little bit about the Global Business Coalition for Education and our work. And then, as I mentioned, we will talk mostly about the Big Ideas, Bright Cities Challenge. So the Global Business Coalition for Education is a nonprofit. We are a movement of businesses committed to ending the global education crisis. If you have visited our website, you might have seen that we have close to 100 different corporations, businesses that are our members. And we are working with them to ensure that every kid around the world has the best start in life, a safe place to learn, and they're able to develop the skills for the future. We connect the businesses with the NGOs and help them make the most impactful investments in education. And as you will see in the next slide, the challenge as we frame it spans the lifetime of every single human around the world. There are some devastating facts if you look deeper into the studies that are being published around the world. Currently, 260 million children around the world are not in school. And almost 70% of all 10-year-olds cannot read a simple text. So these are all very shocking stats. This is, I believe, one of the most urgent and important challenges that the world faces. And we are trying to rally the business world to support us in this effort. The key stat on the bottom of this slide, the 825 million youth who are not on track to have basic skills to enter the workforce, is the one that the Big Ideas, Bright Cities Challenge is specifically trying to address. Again, we do have many other initiatives that try to address all aspects of education for all age groups. And I should have also mentioned that we are a sister organization of the Children's Charity Their World, which is based out of the UK, which has a host of wonderful initiatives addressing the global education crisis around the world. So the Big Ideas, Bright Cities Challenge came out of a research that we have done to look into the most skills-friendly cities across the US. And we worked with experts from the education field, from businesses, with the generous support of two of the sponsors and two Global Business Coalition for Education members, Deloitte and Dell Technologies. We have a short video. It is never easy to share a video on a Zoom call or a webinar like this. I will give it a try. Hopefully the audio and everything will come through. If you have any problems hearing, please do let me know.
In the US, 1 in 10 young people is not in school or not in work. That's 4 million young lives that cannot see a future. But a problem today doesn't have to become a crisis tomorrow, because there's a lot that we can do. We know that employers are looking for the right young people, but they need the skills. So we want to help our cities to become skills friendly. We're thinking big. We're building a network of skills friendly cities right across the United States. We're launching our Big Ideas Bright Cities Challenge. If you're a city official, a community organizer, or a business leader, we want you to bring us your ideas to make your city a place where it's easy for young people to acquire skills. We'll award prizes to help the best ideas become reality. Our doors are open. Bring us your big ideas. And join a huge community of like-minded changemakers right across the country who are dedicated to making their cities skills friendly. Skills friendly cities. Write your own future.
All right. Hopefully that audio came through fine. And I think that 1-minute video actually summarizes what we are trying to achieve with this challenge quite well. But one thing that is mentioned in the video is the 10 standards for skills-friendly cities. I realize this might be a little hard to read, but this is a core part of the challenge. So I wanted to highlight it with one slide here. When you go onto our website, you can dive into these 10 standards that we are looking for in the projects, in the big ideas that you will be submitting, and you will be able to read further into these. There's also a report that has been published before the launch of the initial challenge last year that you're welcome to download and read through. Now, the challenge is only for US organizations. The application needs to come from a nonprofit organization with a registered 501c3 status in good standing. As it was mentioned in the video as well, we are looking for partnerships. So preference will be given to nonprofits that are working closely with the local city authorities, albeit a metro city or a small county seat, or it could be a little government agency that serves one or multiple cities. We are looking for youth-serving nonprofits, of course. If there is involvement from the education sector, higher education institutions or education institutions contributing to the development and delivery of your project, that is an additional plus. And of course, if you are able to gather support from the local business community and have them involved, that is even better. There are some additional compliance questions that are part of our application and safeguarding process. Once you open the application form for this challenge, it's on the last page. There's, I believe, about 10 questions that you will need to answer. And if there's any hesitation around those, you're always welcome to reach out to us and we will be able to provide further context beyond what is on that page. As a result of this challenge, we are looking to identify 15 winners with the most impactful ideas that make their cities more skills friendly, that help young people join the workforce, that help young people get reskilling, that help young people that are not able to continue their education find a career path beyond the usual education opportunities that is available to them. The winners will receive grants of up to $100,000. But in addition to this, they actually get an in-kind business support through the Global Business Coalition and our member companies. And they get to join what we call the Skills Friendly Cities Community Incubator Program. Now, of course, the focus usually goes to the grant, but based on our experience with the first cohort, last year was the first year that we have run this challenge, and we had 13 nonprofit organizations join us through this cohort meetings during 10 different sessions over the year. And we have just completed their year and received their evaluation forms. And looks like one of the biggest benefits that everyone has identified has been being part of this exclusive community, being able to be learn from their peers and experts, getting connected to business leaders. Several of the nonprofits that were part of the winners group last year are receiving direct support from Dell, Deloitte, and other business community members working on projects and even developing new ideas. We were also very pleased to see collaborations forming between the city representatives from the first cohort, which we hope will be the same for this year's group as well. Now, for those of you who are joining us in this session, we wanted to also give you a little idea of what we are looking for in the applications. The 6 price criteria listed on this slide do, of course, have some sub-criteria, some explanations for those of us who will be reviewing the applications. But just to give you an idea of what would make your application, what would make your idea get ahead of all the others that we are receiving, we will be looking for innovative ideas that have a clear justification and need. So we want to make sure that in the limited space that you have on the grant form, you make it clear what is the challenge that you're facing, what is the need for this big idea in your specific community for your specific audience. We are, of course, looking for youth-centered activities. And with this, we do not only mean projects that serve youth, but hopefully that involve youth in the design, delivery, and leadership phases of the project itself. The 4th criteria is about the reflection of the standards. We have just flashed those 10 standards to you. As I mentioned, you can go and read more into those 10 standards for a skills-friendly city. And of course, if your project checks several of these, that would be a plus in terms of the evaluation process. The 5th one is what I mentioned on the previous slide, the strength of partnerships. We are looking for collaborative approaches, bringing together different aspects of the community and utilizing the joint force of the different actors. And of course, sustainability, as in the ability to continue this project, the ability to grow this project with the additional funding and know-how support that we will be able to offer to you. As you have all probably seen many times, the deadline is on 21st of July by the end of the day, and we look forward to receiving all your applications. And as I have promised at the top, we are not necessarily going to spend too much time, and we're going to turn it over to you to hear your questions, to answer any question marks that you have about the application process, about the criteria and whatnot. I will continue sharing the screen for a few moments. You're welcome to unmute. Please make sure to introduce yourselves and speak up. If we see that multiple people are unmuting at the same time, I will then ask that you use the hand gestures instead. But the floor is now yours. If you have a question, please unmute and introduce yourself and share your question with us.
Hi, my name's Maureen Kelly with Christ the King Jesuit College Prep. And I have a question. Is this just for new programs, or could it be for something that is already taking place?
Thank you for the question, and thank you for joining. Yes, it could be an existing project. It could be a new project. Of course, if it is an existing project, we would like to understand how you propose using the additional grant money to scale it up, to make it more inclusive, to grow the impact of the project. But you're welcome to apply with an existing project as long as the justification and need is clear.
Okay, so it could be for an existing project that we plan on expanding. And okay, great. Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you again. Any other questions? Please feel free to unmute. If you're in a place where you can't unmute, by the way, you're welcome to use the chat function, and we will read out your question and answer it that way too.
Okay. Hello, this is Leanne Klein with STEM Advantage. I have a question. In terms of the partnerships, do they need to be formal partnerships where we have written agreements with the organizations or with the city, or can they be informal relationships that we can demonstrate over 10 years?
Thank you, Leanne, for the question. We do not necessarily need to see a legal agreement with the partners that you're working with, as long as it is clear from your application form that they are part of the design, implementation, delivery process, or they are a beneficiary of the project work. It is wonderful. Well, we hope that you will be able to make that clear in that way, but we don't necessarily need to see a legal agreement between you and the partners.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Any other questions? Oh, I see a couple of chat messages. All right, a question from Sam Albert on behalf of Mesa United Way. Are there examples of past winners and winner applications we can see? Great question, Sam. There is a section on our website dedicated to the winners from the last year, starting with Greensboro, which was the big grant winner, and the 13 other organizations. If you go to skillsfriendlycities.org, that will divert you to our website, and down, I think midway from on the page, there should be a link to last year's winners. We do also have several stories published in our news section, insight section, about the wonderful projects that are being led by the organizations from last year. And I see a kind message from Rachel, who was our facilitator for the first cohort, who has worked with the 13 cities from last year to connect them with each other, connect them with the business experts from the community. Rachel, wonderful to see here. Thank you again for creating such a great program for the first cohort. As Sam asked, and we just mentioned, I do encourage all of you to go and check out the winners as they are profiled on our website. I haven't asked it to them, but I am also very sure that they will welcome you reaching out to them with any questions about the challenge as well. All of our winners from last year have been very engaged with us, and we will continue working with them as well. By the way, the new 15 winners will basically expand our cohort of skills-friendly cities. So we look forward to having some of you join that great group. Amanda Tati from Junior Achievement of Southwest New England in Hartford, Connecticut. Are you looking for large-scale projects in terms of number of people served? We are considering intensive long-term programs for a smaller number of young people. Thank you for the question, Amanda, and thank you for passing it along, Angel. We are not necessarily looking at numbers in terms of as an application criteria, but of course, the more people affected, the more people are benefiting from the funds and the support we provide, the better. Still, I do understand there might be a smaller intensive program for a specific group, and as long as your application clearly justifies the need and the benefits to that select group, you're more than welcome to apply. I believe I did mention one of the key priorities for this project is to serve underserved communities, to reach a diverse group of stakeholders. So we ask that you, in your application, you provide a profile of the people that are most benefiting from your big idea. All right, let me see. Are you looking for programs that provide opportunities and skills for high school students who decide college is not the path for them? Another great question. That is one of the key demographics that could be served by the projects that we are looking for, not necessarily the only one. It could be college graduates who are struggling to find a place in the workforce and are going through a reskilling process, or are need some sort of support to develop their skills in interviewing, in applying for jobs. But high school students who are not necessarily willing to or who are not necessarily interested or able to go through a college program is definitely a key group that we are hoping to serve with the funds and the support through the challenge.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Ulysses Reeves Waters with Lone Star Justice Alliance out of Texas. I have two questions. One, you mentioned during your presentation that with regards to the 10 standards for a skills-friendly city, that several of those skills can be identified in the application. And I just wanted to clarify that several can be identified and not necessarily all. Could part of the desire to be a part of this cohort to be to expand into the remainder of those 10 skills that we may not be able to identify presently? That's the first question. And then the second question is, I know according to the timeline online, the finalists should be announced, I think either in August or September. And I wondered if that timeline was still on track, given that the application deadline was extended.
Thank you very much for the wonderful questions and for joining us, Ulysses. For your first questions, the 10 standards are actually part of the application process, and we do not necessarily need your project to address all 10. It could be a subset of them. It could be just one, but a very strong project in addressing that specific standard. So I believe as part of the application questions, you will need to check which ones you believe your project serve or which one it satisfies. So no worries about covering all the 10 standards. And in terms of the timeline, yes, we are still aiming at having the 15 finalists announced towards the end of August and the winners announced in September. However, as you said, we did extend the deadline and we are receiving some great applications. If that process is a little delayed, we will, of course, inform those who have applied and make the adjustments accordingly. All right, I see some more questions maybe coming in. Nope, that was just a thank you on the chat. All right, Mitch from America Needs You, a great organization name, Mitch. Thank you for joining us. For the budget section, there is an option to upload or type out the budget. Is one preferred, and are specifics encouraged, or is a general idea compliant? Thank you for the great question, Mitch. I don't think we have a preference over you uploading a document or typing it out. If you have a well laid out Excel sheet, I love Excel sheets. So if there's a nicely laid out budget on an Excel sheet, that might be more appealing, of course. But as long as you have the high level numbers of what you think the budget would look like, you're welcome to share it in either format. There is no need to go into very specifics. I know budgets can be very high level and extremely detailed, but as long as the major parts of your proposal is there, we will be happy to review it. And if you move to the later stages of the review process and there are questions around the budget items and whatnot, we will, of course, reach out to you for clarifications. Great. I hope that I was able to answer your question in full, Mitch. Any other questions, please feel free to unmute or use the chat function.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Toller from the city of Mesa. I had a question about the incubator cohort program. Is that something that just a representative from the submitting organization participates in, or could some of the partnering organizations have representatives to participate in that also?
Great question. Thank you very much. For the last year, I think we had a couple of people identified from each organization, and depending on their availability, they joined for this 90 minutes a month, and we plan it according to availabilities of the group calls. But I don't see any reason why partnering organizations could not be part of the calls as well. I think that is totally possible. Again, for the first cohort, we did not necessarily have many of the partnership representatives on the call, but we are welcome to you're welcome to propose that once, of course, you move to that stage. I did take a note of that to make that a little more clear on our website as well. Thank you. Any other questions? Right, I will just wait a few more seconds. I know it takes a few moments. Right, just as we are hitting the half an hour mark, unless there's any last minute unmutes or questions, we will thank you for joining us again. skillsfriendlycities@gbceducation.org is our email address, and we welcome any and all questions you might have during the application process. We know that several of you are actually on the application form, halfway completed and whatnot. If your hesitation is due to any specific question or section of the application form, please do reach out. We are happy to help you figure out the best way to answer those questions or provide clarity around anything that might be not clear on the form. Great. Once again, thank you all for joining. We will have the recording available and email to those who have signed up for the call. Before we let you go, we do also want to encourage you to please pass along the news to any other nonprofits, youth-serving organizations that might be in your radar, and encourage them to apply as well. Thank you all.